Good morning, sir. My name is Lakshman Kumar. I have completed my MSc Zoology in Sri Krishna Devaraya University, Anantapuram, Andhra Pradesh. I am teaching both botany and zoology up to NEET level from 2016. I have 7 years experience in teaching. Present I am working in Akash Byju's Institute, which is located in Belagavi, Karnataka. Until now, I have taught for more than 5,000 students. Among those, lot of students got medical seats, BDS seats, dental, the BAMS seats, and BHMS seats. I can teach both botany and zoology up to NEET level, but now I am teaching only zoology in Akash Byju's Institute. Even I can teach +1, +2 theory topics. Today, I am going to give my demo on human respiratory system. Human respiratory system. Before going to see about the human respiratory system, we will see what is the use of the respiratory system in human beings. The respiratory system is very important to take oxygen into the body. The oxygen which is enter into the body will reach to the cells through the blood. Example, this is the cell. The oxygen will reach to the cell and enter into the cell through the blood circulation. After the digestion of food, the digested food also enter into the cell through the blood circulation. The digested food which is present in the cell can produce the ATP by oxidation. Here oxygen is helps for the breakdown of food molecules for production of ATP. Based on that, we can say that oxygen and food both are very important for the production of energy in the form of ATP. Hence, human respiratory system is used for the intake of oxygen. That oxygen is used for the production of energy within the cells. Next, if you see the complete details of human respiratory system, the human respiratory system contain different parts. That are, first, if you observe the human respiratory system, which will starts with the nostrils. Above the lips we can see the nostrils. These are the nostrils. Humans contain two nostrils. Nostrils are open into the nasal cavity through the nasal passages. These are the nasal passages. Nasal passages are open into the nasal cavity. Here it is, this is the nasal cavity. This is the nasal cavity. Here, the nasal cavity is used for the change in air temperature. The temperature that we have taken in inspiration, it may contain the high temperature or it may contain the low temperature. The air which we are intake, it may contain high temperature or it may contain low temperature. In the nasal cavity, the temperature of air is converted into the body temperature. Human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Here the temperature of air should be converted into the 37 degrees Celsius. Then in the nasal cavity we can see the filtration of air. Filtration. The nasal passages and nasal cavity contain air. This air is used for the filtration of air. Apart from the air, the nasal cavity and nasal passages contain mucus secreting glands. The mucus secreting glands along with the hair is used for the filtration of air. In the filtration of air, we can see the prevention of entry of dust particles into the respiratory tract. Next, nasal cavity also used for the humidification. Humidification of air. Humidification is nothing but adding of some water content to the air is called as humidification. Here we can discuss that the nasal cavity is used for the change in air temperature. Nasal cavity is used for the filtration of air. Nasal cavity is used for the humidification of air. After that, the nasal cavity is open into the pharynx. Both nasal cavity and buccal cavity are open into the pharynx. Buccal cavity means here mouth. Mouth is open into the buccal cavity. It is also called as oral cavity. Here, the first part of the pharynx is the nasopharynx. The nasal cavity is open into the nasopharynx. In the nasopharynx, we can see only transportation of air. Then second part of the pharynx is oropharynx. The oral cavity is open into the oropharynx. Third part of the pharynx is the laryngopharynx. Laryngopharynx. These three combinedly will form the pharynx. Pharynx is common passage for both food and air. It is the common passage for food and air. If you observe here, the air which is enter into the nasal cavity will reach to the pharynx. Even the food which is enter into the buccal cavity will reach to the pharynx. Hence, we can say that pharynx act as common passage for both food and air. Then, in the pharynx region, we can see the two openings. One opening that is enter into the windpipe is called as a glottis. Above the glottis, we can see the flap-like structure that will prevent the entry of food into the respiratory tract. That is called as a epiglottis. Epiglottis. Epiglottis prevent the entry of food into the respiratory tract. Then at dorsal side to the respiratory tract or windpipe, we can see another opening. That opening is called as a gullet. Gullet is open into the food pipe. Here we are discussing about the human respiratory system. Hence, if you see the glottis, glottis is open into the respiratory tract. First part of the respiratory tract here after the glottis, or simply you can say that glottis is open into the larynx. Larynx also called as a voice box. Larynx contain vocal cords. Because of vocal cords, larynx is used for the production of sounds. Then larynx is open into the trachea. This is the trachea. The length of trachea is 12 to 14 centimeters. 12 to 14 centimeters. Exactly at fifth thoracic vertebra, the trachea is bifurcated. Trachea is bifurcated and enter into the lungs. Each bifurcated part part is called as a primary bronchus. If it is the double, that is called as a primary bronchi. Each primary bronchi enter into the its corresponding lung. Each primary bronchi is enter into the lung. Left primary bronchi enter into the left lung. Right primary bronchi enter into the right lung. Within the lung, primary bronchi again will be bifurcate and form secondary bronchi. Secondary bronchi bifurcate and form tertiary bronchi. Tertiary bronchi will form primary bronchiole, then secondary bronchiole, tertiary bronchiole, alveolar ducts and alveoli. Primary bronchi here bifurcated into the secondary bronchi. Secondary bronchi. Secondary bronchi is bifurcated into the tertiary bronchi. Tertiary bronchi. Tertiary bronchi is bifurcated into the primary bronchioles. Tertiary bronchi is bifurcated into primary bronchioles. Tertiary bronchi bifurcated into primary bronchioles. Primary bronchioles are again divided and form the secondary bronchioles. Secondary bronchioles again divided and form the tertiary bronchioles. Tertiary bronchioles again divided and form the alveolar ducts. Alveolar ducts are open into the sac-like structures. These sac-like structures are called as sac-like structures are called as alveoli. These are the alveoli. Alveoli are surrounded by the blood capillaries, hence exchange of gases occurs at alveoli. Then, the human respiratory system mainly contain the two parts based on their function. First one is called as conducting part. Conducting part is formed by the nostrils to respiratory tract, from nostrils to tertiary bronchioles. From nostrils to tertiary bronchioles, the part is called as conducting part. Then after that, this conducting part is used for the change of temperature of air. It is also used for the filtration of air. It is used for the humidification of air. It is also used for the transport of air into the body. Transport of air into lungs or into the alveoli. Then second part is called as a exchanging part. The exchanging part is formed by the alveoli plus alveolar ducts. Alveolar ducts. These alveoli and alveolar ducts are used for the exchange of gases. Oxygen which present in the alveolus enter into the blood. Carbon dioxide which present in the blood is enter into the alveolus. Then the trachea up to the secondary bronchioles, this entire part, are surrounded by the C-shaped cartilaginous rings. The C-shaped cartilaginous rings not present in tertiary bronchioles, alveolar ducts and alveoli. These are the C-shaped structures. These C-shaped structures are incomplete rings. Those are made with the hyaline cartilage. Those are made with the hyaline cartilage. Then lungs are protected by the double membranous structure that is called as pleura. Outer pleural membrane is called as parietal pleura. Parietal pleura. Inner pleural membrane is called as visceral pleura. Parietal pleura is towards the thoracic cavity. Visceral pleura is towards the alveoli. Then the cavity which presents surrounding to the lungs. The cavity which is present surrounding to the lungs is called as a thoracic cavity. The cavity which present inside the lungs is called as a pulmonary cavity. The right lung, this is the right lung. The right lung has 3 lobes, and left lung, this is the left lung. Left lung has the 2 lobes. That is about the human respiratory system. Thank you.